On 21st May 2020, the cyclone Amphan devastated parts of West Bengal, Odisha, Bangladesh, a good part of that world which we call Southeast Asia today. Millions of people actually affected. Many have died. And this in the midst of the pandemic, COVID-19, which has gripped the world since December in a very, very meticulous way. Is the cyclone the worst of the century so far, and the pandemic saying something to us? We could take a cue from Laudato Si, the care for a common home, the encyclical which Pope Francis gave to the world exactly 5 years ago on the 24th of May 2015. He says several things in that encyclical. He talks about this earth, calling it our common home. He says, let us not leave in our wake a swath of destruction and death which will affect our own lives and those of future generations. He gives us Laudato Si in 5 interrelated components, 5C's: common, challenges, causes, and he goes further and looks into the need and importance of caring and for commitment. Pope Francis, in no uncertain terms, called this earth our common home. He says this earth has been given to us. We need to look after it. We are the stewards of this earth. We need to care for creation. It belongs to all of us, not only to one segment of society. He, in his encyclical, speaks about many challenges that have gripped the world from an ecological or environmental perspective. He speaks about pollution, about waste, about the throwaway culture which has been so much part of our society, our living today. He speaks about climate change, global warming, the way climate change has affected the poor people, indigenous people, small nations. He speaks about water, the need and importance for everyone to have access to clean drinking water. He speaks about biodiversity, whether it is in the Amazon or here in the Western Ghats, the way biodiversity is being destroyed in a lust for profit. He speaks about the breakdown of society, how we have become fragmented, how we have become highly consumeristic, individualistic, and he speaks about the global inequality, how the rich become rich and the poor become poorer. These are challenges we face. And at the third C, he provides us the causes due to the use and abuse of technology through anthropocentrism. He speaks about practical relativism. He speaks about the types of employment we are generating without looking at the human person. And he also speaks about the use of genetically modified food, fertilizers, pesticides, the way we have been using things only to create profits. These are some of the causes that have led, he said, to the environmental degradation, to what is happening to our ecology today. He calls for caring. He calls for caring of this earth from every section of society. He says there is a gospel of creation, that we are called to be stewards of this earth. Are we truly looking at this earth as our own? Are we sensitive? He speaks about an integral ecology, the need to have dialogue, to collaborate with one another, that all men and women of goodwill need to work together to preserve the beauty which is in our common home, our Mother Earth. He speaks about the need for educating people right from an early start on the need to protect, to preserve, the environment. Ultimately, he speaks about an ecological conversion and a spirituality which needs to bring us closer to God, to creation, and this he feels is very important. The final C is commitment, and he says we cannot acquire any of this change. We cannot really care for our common home if we do not have a radical commitment. He makes it clear that responding to the environment is no cosmetic manner, is not merely about growing trees, is not only about using some alternative technology, is not merely about using less plastic. He clearly says to look at matters which are endemic, which are definitely destroying the earth. Look at what is happening in India today. Look at what is happening to the Aravalli range, to what is happening by making that big dam in Dibang. Look at what the Narmada Dam has done in Gujarat. Look at what has happened in the Western Ghats. Who has been profiteering? Who has not cared for the environment? And now suddenly in the midst of the pandemic, the government is giving the possibility of the rich capitalists to take away the profits from the collieries, to try to propagate fossil fuels, which the world is doing away with. He says, are we ready to take a stand? He says that ecological stand is also taking a stand, for the poor of society, for the indigenous people, for the Adivasis who live on the forest lands. It's not merely about preserving our forests, but to preserve all that is rich and wealthy, all that is precious, say in the Amazonian basin or here in the heartland of the tribal forests of India. Finally, in terms of a commitment, he asks each one of us to reflect on this one question: what kind of world do we want to leave future generations? What kind of earth do we want to leave for our children? It is a question not merely for reflecting, it's a question for each one of us, you and me, to act now. Only then will we give Laudato Si, the care for our common home, its due appreciation and credit. Let us begin today.